Well, seems like we have a couple things to talk about. Let's get started. So originally this video was going to revolve around a Facebook argument I was having, but there were 2 points in the argument that I wanted to bring up more because I think it was more important. One of the points is Jacob allegedly having the knife. An individual slowing down the footage to be able to see the form of a knife in his hand, and then placing a picture of the alleged knife and saying, listen, this is proof, this is the definitive proof that he had a knife in his hand. So I wanted to make sure I bring that up because I know in my last video I said you can see the footage, he doesn't have a weapon. Now this could likely be the weapon. I am not going either way right now. My only issue is that the footage is iffy, and that it looks like a corner store security camera. And so is this exactly a knife? And the thing is, I tried recreating the whole thing with the footage and pausing the footage and taking screenshots, and I also got what looks to be a finger gun or a pair of scissors. So that's my biggest issue when it comes to listings and this image and individuals claiming it is definitely a knife. It could very well be. I'm not trying to take away from that possibility. Only until the police come out with their record and show the knife as part of the evidence, because they're going to need the evidence, I think, in order to prove that he had escalated the issue ahead of time and allow them to have their guns out during this altercation. With that out of the way, I wanted to make sure I put that out because I don't want anybody to think that I'm here defending Jacob. I was defending the process. Now, if Jacob had a knife and the police had escalated the situation to lethal weapons and didn't fire upon him at the beginning, then you actually kind of have to commend the police officers. So I'm going to try to finish this up now. I'm going to show you a screenshot of Mr. A, good friend of mine. We always go at it. And there's been on other topics too. But let's see what he had to say. It's this mentality that gets people shot, he was saying about, I forgot what I said. Put aside the legal and moral efficacy of the shooting for a moment, there is a completely lack of moral credibility in the part of various people in the cases such as these. Respectfully, you encourage people to disobey police, run, etc. by rallying around this guy. Heck, you martyr and idolize lifelong deadbeats like this guy with a history of violence against the police, with a mile-long track record because they disobeyed police and got shot. You encourage them to not listen, and you act like a lawyer advising them for their rights, something as an attorney I dread seeing. Yeah, he's an attorney. Doesn't seem to know what speculation is, though. Because how do I martyr and idolize lifelong deadbeats like this guy? Where's the proof, buddy? Aren't you an attorney? Objection! This blame everybody but the criminal mentality has created a generation of assholes, criminals, and mental childlike douchebags who all think they are smarter or more right. These issues start at home, not when the police pull their firearms. That is, except in the situations where they do. I mean, all you need to do is look at Google and search situations when these issues began with police pulling their firearms. Now, it isn't to say, or it isn't to blame people for things they didn't do, but there is a wave of hate that's started since the conception of this country, that is at the root of all of this. Essentially, their discussion is something to do about culture. Now, the Webster's Dictionary defines culture as the beliefs, customs, art, etc. of a particular society, group, place, or time. A particular society that has its own beliefs, ways of life, art, etc. A way of thinking, behaving, or working that exists in a place or organization, such as a business. So, one of the major issues we're facing is an issue revolving around culture. Now, it isn't just the culture that creates criminals. It is also the police culture. It is the way officers police themselves. And I mentioned this on my other video with this fraternal ideology that they have. But, you know what? Don't listen to me. Let's just see what some of the experts had to say.
When I first became a SWAT team member, our city's West Side community was deeply burdened with high volume crime. Many businesses had relocated and the streets resembled open sewers. Most of the criminals blended in with groups of undocumented workers and preyed on them and other citizens who were too fearful to cooperate with the police. At one point, our SWAT team was brought in with a mandate to clean it up. We adopted a zero tolerance policy toward crime of any kind, but the situation continued to decline. We policed the neighborhood heavily. We wrote tickets and made arrests for any violation we observed, no matter how minor. We were fishing with a net instead of a spear, and many hard-working community members got caught up in the sweeps meant to discourage the criminals. Despite our work, the crime rate increased, and because of our work, some community members began to see us as the enemy. I remember one critical thinking officer approaching me and asking, "Chip, you do realize what we're doing isn't working, right?" To which I replied, "Yes, of course I realize it isn't working, but we're the police, and this is what we do."
That was Captain Chip Huth, Captain and Watch Commander of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department back in 2017, just so that you have an idea that these issues are not just present day. They come from the past. Next, I want to give you to Dean Crisp, 30-year law enforcement veteran who proposed a new mindset for police departments, and this is what he had to say.
One of the things that a police officer is absolutely equipped with is what we call a warrior mindset. Now, why do we do that? It's because immediately as a police officer is brought into training, we begin to talk to them, we begin to train them for shootings, for tactical, technical scenarios. Now, that's needed because the job of a police officer is absolutely dangerous, without question. But what we need to do is have that police officer not just have that mindset that's only 5 to 10% of their job, but to expand their mindset to be inclusive of connecting with others. Now, I know personally how that mindset, let's think for a second about the mindset of a warrior. And I know personally, because of being a police officer that number of years, I know how they think. What does a warrior say? A warrior is a person that is at war with something. Think about that for a moment. It's a person who has a siege mentality or a mentality to go out and enforce the laws. Matter of fact, if you were to ask police officers today, what is your main job? Overwhelmingly, the majority of them will say to enforce the law. But in reality, the job of a police officer is to protect the constitutional rights of all people.
I'm not excusing the criminals. I'm not blaming all the police. I'm just saying there's work to be done. We're carrying somebody else's baggage. Every generation has to end up carrying some of that same baggage. And sometimes it just doesn't end well. So hopefully we can work towards a better future. Till then, this is your National Idiot speaking. See you next time.